Hello and welcome back to Tommy's Top Picks Weekly Roundup Podcast, episode 163. I'm your host, Tommy, joined by John.
How's it going?
It's going, but modern times call for modern solutions. John and I played some Modern this week. Surprise! We talked about it, and then we did it.
Yeah, we actually did it. That's the surprising part.
Yeah. So we'll get into that. We're going to talk about how I'm bullish on play boxes. And we're going to talk about Lord of the Rings set boosters for a little bit. And then Pokemon Journey Together, going nuts. Star Wars, these Carbonite boxes, what I think these will do. Then we'll get into some economics, like we always do, to wrap out the podcast and end all the fun.
Someday it'll be good news.
Someday it'll be good news, but today is not that day. There will be a day where men fall, but it is not this day, to quote everyone. Yeah, so what we played some Modern. I played one boring Cat Boros energy deck. And John played...
You thought it was boring?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought it was boring.
Yes.
I was like, you thought it was boring?
No, I had a blast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was actually pretty fun.
Yeah, it was a good, like, aggro rampy kind of deck. It was, or I don't know if I would even... It was aggro-y, right? Don't you think?
The Boros? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't super aggro though. It wasn't like your red go burr kind of.
No.
It wasn't that fast, but it was quick. It was quick and it was powerful. Yeah, I played the Eldrazi ramp to start, which is just we only did best of three which I lost all, so it was 2 games. The Eldrazi one is probably kind of the paper to the scissors of the Cat Boros is my guess, because it took, even when it was going well, it took like 4 or 5 turns to get set up to do anything.
Yeah, and then I'm already heavy low,
like really well ahead. And granted, a skilled player probably could make that work, right?
Yes.
Like it's not 100%.
No, we have.
Oh yeah.
To preface this, we did not even barely look at the deck lists. We just looked at decks that we thought were cool in the top of the meta, and we're just interested in trying out Modern.
Yeah, we just took some top meta decks and threw them in there, and yeah, there's definitely some stuff that I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
It's like, go get a thing out of the game, artifact, and put it in. I'm like, oh, I'm looking through the artifacts. I'm like, why do I have this? Like, why is this in here? What is this supposed to be doing in this meta? So it's fine. It was fun. It was good to try something different. I do kind of like the format. There's some pretty explosive, interesting combo potential things. And I imagine if I actually bothered to learn how the meta is supposed to work with each other, I'd be better, but I did not.
Yeah. I'm interested. My only caveat is accessibility of play, not the price of it, because I get it and understand it, but accessibility to games. Like if there was a Modern format on Arena, that would be awesome.
That was what I was asking you for, because I was like, I kind of want to play that format, but I kind of don't want to do it in paper.
Yeah.
Although I'm assuming it would probably be pretty expensive on Arena too to get that going.
I mean, it's the same. A rare is a rare, and a mythic rare is a mythic rare.
Yeah, and you got to buy packs to open the little things to get the free cards.
Or you just get good at draft.
I mean, it's still, again, that won't get you access to the old cards.
No, but it gets you access to wild cards.
Oh. And you can use that to buy the old cards specifically.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That would work. Yeah. I was like, that's the problem.
There's this whole
draft and get a bunch of the old cards, because that's just not available, right?
No. So basically, if there's a set you're gonna, there's a trick I learned recently. If there's a set you're gonna draft a lot, like I did this with Lord of the Rings. I knew I was gonna draft Lord of the Rings a lot, so I went in and used all my commons and uncommons to craft the full set. So whenever I drafted, I was getting the extra cards, and they would go into the vault, and then the vault then turns over into wild cards.
That's a good trick. Yeah.
And then that's direct. I think it's 1 mythic, 2 rare, but you get them at a much higher frequency if you already have all the commons.
Because you already have it. Yeah. That makes sense. The only downside to that, or the only counter argument to that, is that there's no modern format in Arena, so it's
Yes.
really
Well, it's
all this is
yes,
pointless.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
But
But
it
for
does seem
standard,
like, yeah, I had fun. It was pretty cool. Eldrazi Ramp seems like definitely my type of deck, but I'd have to learn how to actually play it. Mid-range Orzhov was the other one I played.
that was the other one I was gonna try.
Yeah, I didn't really like it. I didn't really figure it out. We played it twice, but I felt like I was kind of like just kind of like lost the whole time.
Sure. Yeah. It never really got off.
Yeah, and by that point you had already played the
Yeah.
Boris like
Yeah.
3 times, so you're just
Yeah.
like crushing it. You're like, okay, I know how this is supposed to work. I'm like, what is this card?
Yeah. No, it was fun though. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I could do it more for sure.
A lot more text on those modern cards than
I am curious how
Yeah.
fast it rotates because we heard complaints not that long ago that it was basically a dead format, like nothing was changing, and then they introduced some changes, the bans, etc.
I feel like
Now
whenever
I'm curious how we were talking about this with
Yeah.
the standard rotation and stuff. Talk
Yeah.
about that a little bit.
Yeah, so couple things on that. Yes, there's like soft rotation. There's I'd say soft rotation in modern every 8 weeks with every new set, and it'll be interesting this year without there being a modern straight to modern dedicated set announced. The power I was starting to question the power level of these standard sets this year and if any of them will make an impact on modern, because I mean we've even seen like the Orzhov deck you were playing had a Aether Drift card in it that is a expensive powerful card.
Yeah, it was definitely clear that modern drives card prices a lot. I will
Yeah.
say
That's
did
what I'm
notice. I was like,
learning.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
now I see why this card sells so high. 'Cause
Yes.
that's critical to this. Yeah.
Yes. And just before we go into it, I did draft Duskmourn one time this week on green white for the first time, and it was super fun. That was the only other thing I played. But going back to standard, I think it we will see. So we had that note from Morrow that Final Fantasy was going to be the strongest set this year power wise. Whether that's true or not, I mean, I think he has. I don't know why he would lie about that.
Probably true. It
Yeah.
makes sense.
The universe is beyond. It's going to be more expensive. But so is Spider-Man and Airbender. I'm nervous for Airbender, honestly, because I don't think it has the IP to pull that extra price, and people will be fatigued at that point by the year.
Probably.
But I mean, it's Magic. It always sells.
Yeah, even if it's the weak set of the year.
Yeah, and it kind of ties to our next topic, which is why I'm bullish on play booster boxes. So my recent collection goals have changed, and I now want one case of every play booster in my collection. And I think it has the backup of I enjoy this on. It has the default requirement for me of I enjoy this being on my shelf, because 1, it'll have good cards in it, or 2, I can draft it. So like it's a draftable product, right? It's not a set box.
Yeah, but a whole case just to draft? That's crazy.
No, it's not just a draft. But
Okay.
like worst case scenario, scenario, I can draft it.
That's fair. Okay.
Opposed to worst case scenario, this is a collector box that has fancy cards that no one cares about. Or a set box that has cards that nobody cares about.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely happens. There's more than one collector box out there that really no one cares about the cards in it.
Right.
So yeah, that can happen. I'm thinking New Capenna. I'm trying to think of some of the older ones that still have the curse hanging over their head. Now, will they go up eventually? Yeah, absolutely.
But New Capenna is not a play box. New Capenna is a draft box, and I want to talk about that.
Yeah, I was talking about being stuck with collectors.
Oh,
yeah. Go ahead.
So the draft and set box era, I think the draft boxes will forever be held down by the set boxes. Whereas in the play booster box era, the only thing above it is the collector box. And if those are so short printed and in a couple of years from now, those are gone, it's just going to be the play box then. It's not set or draft or collector. It's just the play box then. Does that make sense?
Ooh, yeah. is the only place to put money for an era if you're
Mm-hmm.
doing era hopping.
Mm-hmm.
Does happen, as we've seen with the recent, what they call the Bronze Era jump.
And with the longer time period in standard, and we've already heard of Foundations going back to print, which will be back on market soon. Wizards even put out a press announcement about it, about Foundations and their plan that the play boxes should be back next month, and because they're pushing 150, which is insane. And then for a product that's supposed to be around for 5 years in standard, and
Well, and didn't we hear
Bloomburrow is the other one, and you can
Yeah.
if you look on TCG Player, you can see it already reacting.
Yeah. So I think the lesson we're starting to get to is play boosters. Yes, they do run out. Yes, they are kind of, I wouldn't say print to demand, but print to a reasonable amount of demand, right?
Yeah,
And then
they're being
reprint
careful not to
is an
do.
option. Yeah, exactly. They're not flooding the market. They're avoiding flooding the market in
Right.
particular. And then, but they're also keeping things accessible beyond what historically would be their normal timeline. So it feels like they're going back to the era right before we joined back up in Magic, because they
Mhm.
did this sort of thing back then, where they'd be like, okay, we're going to reprint this one because it's
Yeah.
just really popular.
Yeah, because I mean, Bloomburrow was selling in the 150s, and
Yeah.
then came all the way down to the high 120s, and now is back in the 130s.
I think it's a smart move. I think they're playing it right. It becomes game accessible. They're focused on making standard reasonable, which I think
Mhm.
is probably good to keep new players involved, because a new player's not jumping straight to modern. And this IP is all about attracting new the IP Universe Beyond play. It's all about attracting new players.
Mhm.
So you want to have a landing pad for them, and standard is a good landing pad.
Yes.
Yeah, it seems like it's all kind of working out correctly.
Yeah.
Now,
No, for
are
sure.
they ripping us off? Yes.
Yes.
Cutting the packs and increasing prices? Yes.
Yes. Yes.
But does someone who came in for Lord of the Rings or Final Fantasy or Spider-Man know or care about that history?
No.
No, they absolutely do not.
No.
So they're here because they're like, this is cool and it's in my budget and I like it and it's fun and I want to do some more of it. So
Right. Like
I'm
the
gonna play
people
Standard.
that I ran into that are coming in for just Final Fantasy, and
Mhm.
they're just like, oh, $200 a box for a play booster of 30 packs. Cool. Yeah.
Whatever. Like
Yeah.
they don't know the difference, you know?
No.
So
Speaking of which, if you are looking for Final Fantasy and you want to be a degenerate like me and pre-order this early, let's see if it's still available before I talk about it. I found a good case price. Yep, it's still available. Game Nerds. We've ordered from them a couple times. I have. I think you have.
I'm pretty sure I have to.
They have the case for $869 or $870, basically.
Good. Plus shipping and tax or no
Nope.
tax.
Free shipping, no tax. So that gives you a price of $145 per box,
Pretty good.
which is the cheapest I've seen. So I pulled the trigger on it.
All right, here's a question.
And so this leads
Yeah, go
into
ahead.
Final Fantasy, because the scarcity factor of the collector boxes, you think it's weird for standard. Final Fantasy is going to be nuts. So there's going to be a lot more pressure on the play box. And
There will be, but
and
I'm
these-
wondering if they printed this shit to oblivion, because I really think they should have if they didn't.
I hope so.
It's Final Fantasy,
Yeah,
right? It's like
right.
the Lord of the Rings. Not having play boxes available for 2 years on an IP of that level.
It's
feels
gonna
like
hit. It's gonna have to hit.
mistake.
I see it hitting the reprint button like Bloomburrow and Foundations just did within the
So
2
I
years.
was just looking at the boxes. We're so early on pre-sales, right?
Yeah.
There's still plenty of sales. Prices have come down to like 164 on
Mhm.
as a TCP player. But MVP Sports, right? We know that's a huge
Mhm.
seller. Is up at the lowest price. They have 4 boxes available, but I guarantee you this: if you bought the 4 boxes, there'd be 4 more boxes that would show
Yeah.
up, right?
Sure.
So I have a feeling that there is, and I have no evidence to support this, but I have a feeling there's a pretty large first wave. Like they are selling into the hype of Final Fantasy. That's part of why they're hyping it so early, right? Is
Yeah.
to get this locked in. I haven't heard of any cancellations. It's awfully early for that, though. I haven't heard of any actual allocations yet either. So
No. Pre-orders
we
are up
really
at distro.
don't know. Yeah, pre-orders are up
Yeah.
on TCG Player. Like they're all
Yeah.
over the place now.
Yeah.
So it's real deal. They're definitely, I think they're judging the market, and they've probably printed a crap ton for the first wave and are basically making sure that it gets sold,
Yes. Yeah.
by doing that early marketing push and all that.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea. Plus it's going to be the most powerful, so
Mhm.
probably go bonkers too.
Yeah, and
that'll
then
go well.
that extra demand because people aren't going to be able to get their hands on the collector.
Yep. Oh yeah, that seems like that's a fool's errand to chase.
Yeah. 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 Just some interesting things that I've found.
Just a note, the free sales at 622 for the collector.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it spiked at 685.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those aren't going to be on shelves.
That's insane. That's just insane.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we'll see. I think Final Fantasy might beat out Lord of the Rings.
It may. It
I
may.
think it will.
And
Now,
that
granted, Rings was in a pretty bad situation market-wise.
correct.
Like Final Fantasy's coming off the highs of like Collector Mania and all this stuff. So
Correct.
it's a little bit different dynamic. But the fact that it's 622 pre-sale and like 700 is what the first Lord of the Rings set kind of stabilized at, for
Mhm.
that collector box is like, geez,
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. But also it ties into economic stuff too, this plan of mine. Because like a case of play boosters fits into the budget that I want to allocate to cards compared to buying this lower stock market and stuff like that. And other things, more important things than cardboard in life. Just a reminder out there to people.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely stick within your budgets in these uncertain times.
So I changed up my budget is all. And this fits in perfectly, and it fits into the rules of I enjoy it on my shelf, and it has a second purpose.
Right.
But thinking of things that don't have a second purpose, well, they do because they bring me joy because they're Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings set boosters. I've been talking about it the past couple of weeks. It has pulled back. This is one of the things that has pulled back to 200. More and more keeps coming onto the market, but not a ton. I've been watching it for a couple of weeks now. It's at the highest available boxes that it's been at in the past couple of weeks.
What are you gonna do with that one?
Of what?
Set boxes.
Oh, these are shelf holds for at least 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just part of my Lord of the Rings personal collection.
Obsession.
Yes.
Obsession.
Yes.
Sickness.
Well,
He's got an illness, people. It's called Lord of the Rings.
yes, and it goes beyond Magic because I'm also looking at the new Lord of the Rings Middle Earth strategy battle game starter set from Games Workshop that came out at the end of last year.
Oh, is this like it's a Warhammer thing?
Yeah. It's so when I first got into Warhammer, I didn't get into Warhammer. I got into Middle Earth strategy battle game. And it was from going to a game store near me that I found and wanted to go because they were doing a Helm's Deep battle. They had the whole Helm's Deep table.
That's pretty bad.
Like they built a custom Helm's Deep. And it was like a party. They had like 10 people there, like 5 people controlling the Uruk-hai marching towards Helm's Deep, and then 5 people split between the Hornburg and the Keep. And
it's always epic.
It was, and as like I was like 13, right? This was like I was. This is incredible. And that was my entry into miniature games. And so. And from what I've read, because I was a kid at the time, I didn't understand economics and these kind of things. But Lord of the Rings really saved Games Workshop during that time. Like they floated it and then made Warhammer bigger after it. Like Warhammer wasn't as big until after they did the Lord of the Rings. And then
because that was kind of post my generation's era of Warhammer. We were all like off to college and doing things, and we were like, not really that interested anymore in trying to do all the models and collecting and painting and stuff. Because life was way too busy and difficult trying to figure out how to, manage our own lives.
Yeah. So in my stress-induced evenings, I've been calming down by reading the rules of this game. And because they just came out with a new edition, so there's new rules. They're similar but different to the old rules, but they're simpler. and they are unit based opposed to like squad based, which is super cool. So it's really flexible in army size. You just have to match your opponent's point value, and you could have as few as just a couple models and play a game quickly, or you could have a bunch of models and play a game over a day. And it's just, there's so much flexibility with the game. And just the actual pick up and play rules are so easy once you have it on the table. So like if you came over, you could be up and playing and understand how the game works in a couple of minutes. It's that simple. But then to get really good at it and learn.
To me. I don't believe you.
I know. Well, that will be many years once this is actually done, because I haven't even ordered it yet.
Gotcha.
But in the meantime, what I do have and what I'm going to paint first is during my last miniature obsession, I picked up Balin's Tomb, which is a self-contained Lord of the Rings board game. If someone is interested in that and not into miniatures, it's like under $100. It's the scene. They have a cave troll in the movies when you're in Balin's Tomb, and you have to protect Frodo and the ring. And you have the Fellowship, and then you have waves of orcs that come, and then eventually a cave troll comes. And one person controls the orcs and cave troll, and the other one the Fellowship, and you just have to keep Frodo alive for a certain amount of turns. It's kind of like a horde thing.
Yeah. That's
super
fun.
cool, and it's all hex based, or it's a grid, squares.
Yeah, grid based. Yep.
So it's very simple, very just dice rolly, read the dice kind of thing. There's a couple cards with stats for each character, that kind of thing. It's kind of my first miniatures game, but also the miniatures are super. I think they're all like 1 or 2 pieces. So super easy to put together. Not a big deal.
Right. It's fun.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. But with the Lord of the Rings set boxes, it's still maintaining that 5-6 a day, even though it crashed. But when it did crash, we did see a spike in some sales. Sure. But we're at the highest current quantity I've been watching over the past couple of weeks. But I'm wondering, after this flush out of it moving up, because it did jump from like 170 to 220, so that's a $50 up, and then it bounced back $10, $15. So should be interesting to watch over the next, like, these are the kind of things where like there will be opportunities like this, but how many more opportunities will there be on this? Will they do another printing? Because technically they could this year, but then but do they choose to print this Lord of the Rings set box over more Final Fantasy, more Spider-Man? And so that's why I also am tying it back to the other play boxes. Did they reprint Murders at Karlov Manor? Did they reprint Outlaws of Thunder Junction?
No. On probably both of those.
Right.
Thunder Junction has a higher probability than Karlov
Manor.
Markov, Color, whatever the hell.
Karlov Manor.
Marv.
Call Marv. Yeah, so I think it is kind of safe from reprints. It's just what's coming out of closets, what's coming out of stores that are like, oh wait, it's going for how much online? So you get those when you get these $50 increases, you get people pulling boxes out.
It's true.
And again, this is that draft set box era, and the Lord of the Rings draft box is the only one I'm going hard on with draft boxes.
Yeah.
But I'm not really looking back to the draft boxes anymore, besides Lord of the Rings, just because it is the Universes Beyond.
Yeah. I don't know if there's the
other things they have. The other boxes also had the set boxes, which is why they would suppress them down. And I don't really feel like sitting on a bunch of set boxes. So that's why I'm kind of, my cutoff is the play box.
Yeah, I think that whole time frame, the set box time frame, right, which I guess is post bronze, whatever that is going to have a dead moment, like a quiet moment for the next year or two. Just because I do think we're now in a new era. We'll get to the point where people feel adjusted to this. You'll get the new influx of players because of the IP. They'll go into the stuff that's in the standard kind of cycle, which is none of that stuff is pretty soon. And then those boxes will have to sit for a while before people go back and revisit them. Yeah, I think that's where that is, and that's fine. Like it's totally within the normal, cycles and sales cycles.
Yeah.
Speaking of new stuff coming out, though, I do want to talk a little bit about Tarkir.
Sure.
It may be a set I buy some of this year.
I
The
did.
more I've seen, the more I'm like, ooh,
Mm-hmm.
ooh,
It looks pretty cool.
okay.
It's the
Yeah,
magic set this year.
it really is kind of cool. It does tickle my fancy. It's the things that I like. One dragons, two Ugin, right? That's one of my only two playmats is Ugin.
Mm-hmm.
Or Ujin, however people say it. I've heard both from Magic players, so whatever. Um, I'll probably get at least one or two of the commander decks just because I like the commander decks, even though there's not that many cards. I guess it depends on. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. I may buy a play box to open, right?
Okay.
Which is kind of crazy, but it would get me the cards, most of the cards from the. Well, actually, it might not because they probably have some special commander cards on there.
That's the other thing about the play box. There's more. There's a lot of cards. There's cards in there compared to a collector box.
Yeah. Well, that's the idea. I want cards from the set, right?
And a lot of these
put in my
sets
collection.
have
Yeah.
like uncommons and commons that are powerful.
Yeah. Maybe I'll just. I'm not sure. I haven't decided yet. Like I said,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I will buy a collector's box at post-release kind of dip, right?
Yep.
Probably in that 200 range. I imagine it'll get there.
Especially because then we'll be pushing up against Final Fantasy, and stores will want to move them.
Yeah, exactly. So I will buy that during its dump phase. I will probably buy just one, maybe two to open. Playbox, I may buy one of those to open just to get the card pool, like a chunk of it
Yeah.
for my collection, because I like this set. I like the idea of the set. I'm assuming there's decent power level. If the power level is just garbage, like if this turns out to be a weird, like kind of offset from a power standpoint, then I'll probably end up buying almost nothing, but maybe a collector's box. But I do. I want to open some fancy dragons. I like dragons. Dragon
fair.
deck was my first recent run at Magic that actually did really well, and there'll be upgrades in here regardless. Maybe
yeah,
I'll tear
that-
it apart and build a new dragon deck because there'll be so many new dragons to deal with. Maybe. I doubt it, but maybe.
Yeah.
It's hard to bypass Miriam. Miriam is a super powerful dragon commander.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll
No,
see.
I mean, I plan on picking up my case of play boxes.
Yeah. But I did notice the pre-release kits, and I was like, oh, that actually
They are
almost
pretty cool.
It's me interested in going to the store for pre-release. I was like, I can't believe this is actually happening, because I looked at it, I was like, oh, you can go in and you get one of those dragons as your like themed pre-release. Like I haven't seen that in a while. That would be kind of fun.
I'll go with you.
Yeah, let's see what the calendar says.
Yeah,
It's April
that's fair.
something.
Yeah. We'll look at the calendars.
Yeah, if we can, we should. But I'm like, like I said, I saw it. The marketing worked. I was
Yes.
like, ooh, I should go to a shop and play that because that seems fun.
Yeah.
Which not much has done that for me in the recent time. So
Yeah. It would be sealed,
Good job,
but these
Jackie.
seem more themed sealed.
They are.
which,
Yeah. From what I can tell, you get to. I don't know if you get to choose, but you get a like.
Yeah.
Tamir or whatever it is, the different color combinations. Like they're themed on that color combination. So.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works. Do they start with like a base and then the rest of it's like packs and you just, Abzan.
Yeah, I don't know. I would assume maybe it's it's tied to the
14
promo.
Clan aligned cards, including one traditional foil rare
Yep.
or mythic rare, 5 of the play boosters. So you
so
get
one
14
less.
clan cards. Yeah, that's it. So you're pushed into a clan
Yeah.
and then you draft or pull out the rest that fit. But it's
Yeah.
3 colors, so that's
Yeah.
a lot of the other cards will fit.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I do
Yeah,
like
I'm
that.
into it. I like that idea.
And I bet you
like
there's
it.
some land fixing
Oh, absolutely.
in that
There's gonna
14
be-
cards.
Yeah, for a 3-color
Yeah.
set,
Yeah.
like it's definitely gonna have some
Yeah.
land fixing stuff.
Yeah.
Has to.
That'll be interesting. I am keeping an eye on it because I do think it is the magic set because
Also,
Drift wasn't it.
3-color draft.
yeah,
That could be fun.
absolutely.
The Modern Horizons 3 was the only other one, right?
We did another one. I think we made it because we drafted each other out
No,
of.
we did that.
We
Yeah,
did
but
that.
there
Yeah,
was-
that's what I was
think it
confusing it
Modern
with.
Horizons 3 was the one that actually had it on the like cheat sheet. Like, here's the archetypes.
I think
We
that
did
was
it
two.
recently. There was a 3-color one. Yeah, that's right. Oh, was it? Okay. Well, maybe I'm mixing it.
We haven't drafted Modern Horizons 3 yet.
We have definitely in the last 6 months drafted something that had 3-color.
Yes.
I don't remember what
It was the Modern Horizons 2 you brought over.
Oh, that was it. Yep. Anyways, I like 3-color draft. I think it's interesting. So that's what made me say maybe I'll buy a play box. I'll open it and then I'll probably get bored of opening it because the same commons again and again. I hate opening play boxes.
Yeah,
I'll leave some packs for drafting.
MH3's guide was 2-color.
Okay. Yeah. Well, whatever it was. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was Modern
Remember
Horizons 2.
We did a 3-color and it was fun.
Yeah.
Because I remember being like, oh, that's weird. 3-color.
Yeah. No, it worked. It was fun. We need to Winston again soon. Yeah. There's so many sets.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'll probably grab some of these to Winston because that'll be interesting and weird.
Yeah, for sure. Another interesting and weird thing. Journey Together pre-orders for Pokemon.
How is the Poke space going? Did I make all the money or did I lose all the money?
Silly. I don't know. I didn't look at Battle Styles.
I think it's still the same price it's been.
Probably.
Since
Probably. Do I think it'll come down? Maybe a little bit, but not. I don't think too much.
It's out of print now. Like coming down seems unlikely, unless it spikes crazy and then people dump on it.
Or a bunch of people that bought it that didn't actually plan to hold it. But that I don't think those come to TCG Player.
Also, economic downturn could happen that causes people to dump stuff on the market. So there's always that.
Yes, but before we get to the sad times, we're going to look at the crazy times. Journey Together is pre-ordering for $247.
Seems silly.
19 days before release.
I just don't.
Averaging 107 sales a day.
Don't trust it. I don't trust it. This is what bubbles look like.
The other day, 150 sold at 217. That's what pushed it up to 250.
Yeah.
And people aren't relisting it lower.
Yeah. Pokemon is going to come out with the print hammer. They have to. They never don't. They always react to this stuff.
They're
awfully slow this time, though.
Yes, and so that is another talking point that's been going around. There are a couple sets that are being reprinted and are available at distro. And those are Obsidian Flames, Paldea Evolved, I want to say Twilight Masquerade, and something else. Oh, Brilliant Stars. No, I'm sorry, that's Sword and Shield. Surging Sparks. But what I've been hearing and seeing screenshots of is these distributor lists, and they are basically charging stores MSRP. So that 160.
I wonder how much of this is distros playing games.
Right.
I'm really starting to wonder.
Yes, because if the reason these are so high is because the store costs are high. And it's artificially holding up these secondary market prices. Yeah. Because the stores that have access to distribution. I'm wondering if Pokemon
has like Monarch 2.0 happening here. We're going to see another flame out like that.
No, because they're limit to 1 or 2 boxes.
Exactly. Are they the ones that are actually limiting this and it's not actually in as limited a situation?
I think it's the pie is being cut into too many small slices because everyone wants Pokemon.
Okay.
I think there are just more people. There's
I don't know. I just don't trust it. It feels like too hype for too long.
Yeah.
And Pokemon tends to correct their demand, their supply side pretty easily.
Right. But
they haven't though. They haven't made any big announcements, have they?
No, they did. They did a while ago. And then we're having this reprint that's coming now.
And it's not having any impact. So this is where I'm wondering, is distro like, oh yeah, you're going to print more? Well, we'll just shove it in a warehouse and release it one at a time to keep the demand high for longer. And our prices higher for longer. And that's the game they should play. If financially maximizing outcomes, that's what you do. You say, okay, you printed it. How big a reprint is it? They have idea. They know the supply, right? And they just trickle it out to keep this ramped up hype happening.
Yeah, and you would think if there was a true reprint, right, that it would come back onto Pokemon Center, like their official
They
website.
well, but it didn't, right?
No.
But they announced it.
Yes. But they never
Yeah.
announced the date or when it was coming.
That's fair. So maybe they didn't do it yet, you think?
I'm thinking it hasn't hit yet, and then their distros maybe letting out 1 or 2 boxes of
I mean,
what
if
they
that's
were
the case,
holding.
then yeah, I'm misblaming distro on that. Then
I
if that
don't
is the case,
like.
it's
There's
you
no.
make a good point though. Poke Center is kind of the balance to distro playing games, and it
Yes.
has not reacted in a way that you would expect if there were games. So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe they just haven't gotten to market yet.
Right.
Ugh, Pokemon, what happened?
Yeah, and like none of like every Scarlet and Violet is sold out at MSRP on Pokemon Center. Like there isn't.
Crazy.
It's not. There's no booster boxes.
I know. That's why I grabbed those last ones because I saw that it was basically the end times for. I was like, I'm just buy that.
And there, but I think people are also either under. I think the reason Journey Together specifically is going so crazy is one, it is that Gym Hero set.
Yeah.
And
This is
two,
a hype set.
it comes with that guaranteed stamp promo, which stamp promos people freak out about, and it's a grading play. So you can't open this card in the pack. You can't open this card in the bundles or the boxes, like the collection boxes. It's tied to the booster box. Like it's the box topper. So that adds value to the booster box specifically, which was already the most desired product. It's kind of wild.
It's a bit messy. It's way more messy than Pokemon has been.
They've never, yeah, they did this a long time ago, but they haven't done this since we got back into it.
That's what I mean. Like they've been very disciplined and controlled throughout a lot of booms and busts that we've seen. So it's kind of, this is weird. This is definitely uncomfortable. I don't like it.
Yeah. I did, like I said, I think it was last week. I was able to grab a case just above MSRP. But we're now reaching the point where I was doing the math, and if I sold them, I'd make a couple bucks already. If this price is
11 days until release. Yeah.
19.
That's nuts. That's very not 80, or that's very much not how Pokemon operates.
No, this is silly. But I also, like, when things get this crazy, is Pokemon just not really caring about booster boxes as much and trying to print these collection things that have a higher.
It's possible, but there's no indication of that.
No.
They haven't really done anything that shows that.
There's Cardinal Gaming that I do trust his opinion on allocations and stuff, because he is a rather large store that is predominantly Pokemon over Magic, like Pokemon players. Like he is the Pokemon store. And he has multiple stores, and his allocation for Journey Together booster boxes is the smallest allocation of booster boxes he has ever gotten.
It's really bad.
On
what
release.
are they doing? What is happening?
On release, he has never had this small of an allocation.
All right, well, guys, girls, good luck. Chase your tendies if you want to. I'm out. I'm sure there's tendies to be made, because it seems like it's just a bit of a messy situation. But
and caveat and reminder, Vivid Voltage, the story of Vivid Voltage. When it came out, it was like a $250 box, just like this. And then for many years after, it sat at like $140 MSRP.
Yeah, because then they printed it out.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but the difference is,
you can't get
it doesn't.
tendies.
No, and also Vivid Voltage, there weren't very many hits in it. They were hard hits because it was Sword and Shield. It is a very different product, but just saying that these things can happen. I don't think it's going to happen with this, but it can. It could.
One set. One day it will happen, and Pokemon will recover back to its normality.
Yes, but so with the reprints and with it needing to catch up with everything, when does Journey Together actually get reprinted is the question.
Well, yeah, the demand.
So
for
like if
different
they had to get this out and then the demand is super high on Prismatic Evolution still, on 151, on Paldea now, it's silly.
I'm not a fan. I don't like it.
Yeah. It's getting weird.
I got my cases. I'm gonna sit on them.
I sold all of I don't currently have any Pokemon boxes. All of mine have sold.
And Battle Styles went up.
But my journey
more.
together will come.
190. Battle Styles 190.
Mm-hmm.
You know how long I saw the price of that at 89 a box?
Mm-hmm.
You know how many times I wrote that into that stupid poke sheet?
Mm-hmm. Just trust in Pokemon, John. It works. It just
Battle Styles 190.
And then what's the sale volume? Is it selling?
I don't know. I didn't even look.
There you go.
Volume. Yeah, maybe not. No, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sales 2 days ago.
Yep.
8 over the last. No, yeah, 2 days ago, 8 sold.
Yep.
And then before that, there were sales. Yeah.
Yep.
Like not daily sales, but sales. Over a week, yeah. There's not zero.
That's at the new price.
Yeah, at that 170 to 180 range. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's 190. Oh boy.
Yep.
Who would have guessed? Well, I guess I guessed, but
you guessed.
I wouldn't have guessed back in the day. It was always the one I hated because it was always terrible.
Yeah, it's something.
It is.
Uh,
Anywho, I am done. I am not chasing the Pokemon Dragon because that is a dangerous dragon.
No, this
for my sense of things. I don't know how things work with Pokemon.
Yeah.
I got lucky. Well, I feel like I finally learned a little Pokemon, enough to get that one little shot of advantage. But
yeah, and I did learn, or the only reason I pulled the trigger on it was because I was able to find a good deal, and compared to the market. And I do have some nostalgia because when I was a couple months back, when I was talking, I think it was longer than that, when I was going through my childhood collection of cards, I had collected a lot. That was my favorite set growing up, was Gym Leader Challenge.
Well, we talked about how this was the set that was most likely to be bananas because of that, right?
Yeah. Well, and then the next one too.
Yeah, because they're both hitting on that childhood.
The next one, yeah. So this is kind of like the hero set,
and then
the good guys, and then right? yeah.
Is it
it's not. It's not. The Japanese one has a rocket name, but multiple Japanese sets go into an English set.
I don't even want to understand that. Go ahead.
So say like
I don't want to understand it. I don't want to. Don't tell me. What is it called in English? What's the bad guy set called?
Destiny Rivals.
Okay, but they're not Team Rocket anymore. They're Team anything. Do they have a name?
There are Team Rocket cards in that set. Because they're coming from the team. Multiple bad teams from multiple games.
Oh, okay.
Multiple eras, yeah. So you're hitting the nostalgia of multiple era people.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that works.
And some of the art rares in those cards, in both those sets, are wild.
Oh, I did have one thing I wanted to, sorry to jump, but it just occurred to me. I had one thing I wanted to talk about with Fab, if we're ready to move on from Pokemon Madness.
Yeah.
I just thought I'd point this out. There was a buyout of my Give and Take foils. I sold 12 at once.
Mm-hmm.
I see no reason for that to be a thing. So I'm guessing someone has inside information that Give and Take is going to be useful in the future. Because why the heck would you buy 12 foils?
It's a Fab thing. People just take their shots on buyouts.
Collectors are not.
It's not a collector. It's not a collector. It's a player.
It's not a player. It's 12 of a foil.
Yes. Players do that in Fab. It's what I overheard at the last week.
12 foils. They do not buy 12.
And then the
price doubled.
Yes.
Somebody knows something. This card's going to be useful for something. I mean, maybe not, because it was a foils. Honestly, if it was non-foils, I'd actually be more convinced that someone knows something. But I don't know. Someone found a synergy with Give and Take. It's going to become a thing. Is that why the buyout's happening?
I don't know. I mean, Viscerai left, so things are changing.
Yeah, things are changing. Anyways, It was kind of funny though to see a order of 12 of this card that I've had sitting like on the inventory forever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Yeah,
nothing
that's
really.
just. I mean, that's kind of the player. It's not the collector. It's the player vibe of just like, I think this card's like the fab players play the market of singles.
Yeah.
Like if they think a card's gonna do well, they buy a bunch of it, and then they can trade it locally for more or something else. Or, um, yeah, it may not come back to TCG player, but it could be traded locally. And I think that's a lot of fab, anyways.
That does happen. That does happen. Hold on, I want to look at the sales chart. Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know. The foils are spiking. The non-foils are dropping right now, according to TCG player charts. Anyways, I thought it was interesting because I haven't had a buyout like that in a while, where it's like I had a bunch of something and they all sold at once.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I'd shout it out so people can hear if they're doing the fab game thing. Keep an eye out.
Yeah, for sure.
Outsiders even take foils buyout for some reason.
Outsiders, the box is going up too.
That might be part of it. It's just
And
like
so it's just, yeah.
Generic, you know.
Yeah. And generics, yeah, they hold
Generic
value.
attack actions, yeah, they work. 3 cost or 3 block and 3 attack.
Yep. Seems good.
Could be. Anyways, sorry. I thought
That's
that one
okay.
was weird.
Yeah.
I bought out that a long time ago thinking it was going to be awesome way back in a speculative manner. And
now
not.
someone else is.
Yeah, now someone else is doing the same thing. I'm like, more power to you. Good luck.
Good luck. Have fun.
Good luck. Hope it works for you better than it did for me.
Yeah. I have noticed that I've had a lot of my Rainbow Majestics that weren't selling have been selling.
I'm curious if it's
and
just
I
like
think it's
boxes are selling out, so people are like, "Oh, grab the rarer cards that are kind of like generic attack actions in foil, right?
Mhm.
Those are generally rare and harder to find. What's the other thing that's the key cards that people buy that like if I know nothing, I still know that that's probably a good buy. You know what I mean? Generic attack actions or generic actions in general are the
generic
ones.
Majestics, yeah.
Yeah, Majestics, yeah. Probably the Majestics will be next, just generally bought out.
Sure.
Because they tend to be the higher value stuff anyhow.
Yeah, commons and rares are everywhere.
Exactly.
Pennies.
I don't know. We'll see. But I thought that was interesting and worth noting because it was a surprising order. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Turns out I actually had 13 in my inventory though, so now I put one more back up.
Nice. Yeah. And put it at the new price.
Yeah. Makes no difference.
No. But yeah, wanted to touch on Star Wars as well real quick. So we have the Jump to Lightspeed set coming out, along with the Carbonite edition, their collector booster, the ultimate premium pack for collectors.
Okay.
So
think about it.
They're 12 packs. They're selling 19 a day.
Are they out or is this pre-release?
It's still pre-release, but pre-release happened, so people are opening them. They could have opened them at stores and stuff this week. Then the actual release date's the 14th. So this upcoming week.
What do you think?
I'm nervous.
Yeah.
I'm staying away. I just wanted to call it out because we do talk about Star Wars a lot. So remember how Vader was like $100 card?
Mm-hmm.
It's a $25 card now.
Yeah. They printed to the demand. And
yes.
Probably a little bit more.
Yes. And so if we look back to just the last set, we have Twilight of the Republic at $61 a box. Market price is $57. Market price on Shadows of the Galaxy, $73. Market price on Spark of the Rebellion, the first set that capped at like $200, is $93. We have the new set pre-ordering for $81, which is normal. And I think map, or yeah. Do they have map? I don't remember. I think they do. But that quickly breaks post pre-sale because then people that aren't stores are able to list their boxes. But this is the first one with that Carbonite collector box. And I don't know. if the regular box will be able to hold up to even that $60 point.
It won't. That's what they're doing, and they're probably doing it on purpose, so they don't have to print excessive numbers in order to satisfy both sides of the
Collectors,
market.
yeah.
They're splitting it out,
Yeah.
which makes sense. And like, if they could have seen this coming, which they couldn't, so no blame on them, it would have been smart to start that way, because that is part of what caused all the disruptions in the playability in the first few sets. You know, the inability to draft, the inability to get those basic boxes, right? Because they didn't have enough, because people wanted cards for collection purposes, so they bought the heck out of it, right?
Mhm.
As opposed to just buying it to play. You know, you had the two sides of that market fighting, and that caused all their issues. And now they've corrected those issues, and this is definitely from an economic standpoint, a good move for a correction. But I think they probably already burnt everyone that, you know, would have been interested in this change. Can they pull them back? Can they continue on? Big question marks.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of people got angry at that game for both sides of it. There's not enough cards for me to actually get into it, and I have all my cards, but the price went down because you printed it. You know what I mean? Like when you burn both sides simultaneously, you lose your demand. Like, and that's what happened, unfortunately. And frankly, not their fault. I don't think anyone could have predicted this was going to be that popular at that time. You know, given general market conditions.
It's a Star Wars collectible card game. No way.
Yeah. You know how many Star Wars collectible card games have existed, Tommy?
I know, but it's going to be popular.
And none of them have blown up that
at launch. At
none
launch.
None of them have blown up that badly at launch. Like the old Legendaries one or whatever, that previous one, it wasn't that big. It was big, but it wasn't the same. Like I said, I think they tried their best and got blindsided by the market. That was, and what it is, I can actually tell you what it is, because that old Star Wars game was pre-COVID card game mania, right? So the new baseline market is way bigger than it was back then.
Yes.
And they were probably comparing that old data and saying, this should be fine.
Yeah.
It was not fine.
It was not fine. Now, on the other hand, though, some of these cards look really cool in the Carbonite. Like there's the Prestige foil, which are actually like embossed cards, which are kind of cool.
I'm looking. How can what's it? I guess how do you? Is there a?
I sent you a link.
Yes. Oh, good. Thank you.
And then it should be filtered by high to low.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
Tommy's like, John's gonna try to find this.
And yeah, so like if you look at
the art's good. Mm-hmm. I like the style. That was my big question. It's like, how'd they do on the art? Because they've definitely gotten reasonable complaints about that.
Yeah,
I like it. Who knows? Maybe they do pull it off. Get past this like grumpy stage and continue to push on, you know, and then just get a core base player set.
Yeah, I mean the game itself is super fun.
Oh my god, I don't like that Luke.
There's a lot of that, just like, oh, I hate this one.
Yeah. Everything else I like, but that Luke, it looks terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I think the spaceships are what look the best.
Spaceships look awesome. I like the Major Vonreg and
some of them are even like scenes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're all pretty good.
But do you know what these are? They're reprints of some of the most powerful cards in the previous sets.
I don't think that's bad in a collector's box.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is, like, this is going to become a very cheap game to play.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Like,
yeah. I wanted to say that out loud.
No. Yeah, that's very important. But from day one, the thing I said is this producer is known for printing games.
Yes.
So do not treat this as a speculative asset. You will be burned eventually. Now, granted, you made out because you got in and out in the bubble and the excitement.
I'm still making money on this game.
Yeah,
I sell just as many
that kind of game.
I sell just as much Star Wars cards. I sell more Star Wars cards than I do Fab, and I have way more Fab. And I sell, and I sell. Well, it's even higher up on TCG Player. If you go to the more games.
That's true. It's at the top bar too. It's ahead of Fab on the top bar.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it has a player, and like with the prices now, I think the player base is gonna grow.
If they, yeah, basically they stabilize the whole supply demand thing
Hmm.
and they push for new ways like this split out of collectors versus. I think they have the opportunity to turn the ship around and
Absolutely.
recover. I know they've gotten kicked in the teeth though, like
Yeah.
no doubt about that. But also, with that in mind, understand from a speculation standpoint, play it very cautiously because this is a producer that is known for overprinting specifically to make sure everyone can get cards. They
Yeah.
do not care. They have never been collector based. This is the most they've ever done, I think, actually, historically, as a production company to cater to collectors. I don't know that they've ever done anything like this before.
Yeah. I mean, they even put it on the box.
Yeah. They're like, we appreciate you.
The
Also, we've never
ultimate
done this
premium
before.
pack for collectors. Yes. And they have serialized cards.
Oh shit. Yeah. That's a big deal for collectors. So that's good. They
Yeah.
gave them a chunk of the market that collectors can go play in and let the
Yep.
players play the damn game instead of getting ripped off by collectors buying everything.
And then you don't end up like me with thousands and thousands of Star Wars bulk.
Yeah. That's the part that I hate the most now.
It's crazy how many commons and uncommons are like 70 cents to $1.50.
Sure. But you have to deal with them all. Who wants to do all that?
They were already sorted.
And you got carpal tunnel as a result of that.
It was worth it.
You hurt yourself for that 70-cent card. You physically injured yourself, sir.
It's fair. It's fair. No, that's an old carpal tunnel. I sorted this months ago.
Yeah. It's all part of it. The whole point is the
Yeah.
repetitive stress.
Yes.
That counts.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I think if they pull it off, if they can drive more demand, like bring people back, or a show or movie comes out that they can jump on the hype, right? Because there is was it Andor's coming out, so if they have a set that releases along with Andor that does that thing that we see,
I bet they do.
I bet they do too. It seemed very clear they were trying to link up IP timing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if they're doing that, this has a good chance to get a new wave in with the stabilized, structured market to handle collectors and players. And then they just have to promote the store play and the tournament play, right? And get people into the like, oh yeah, I want to go to these events. I want to go to these competitions,
Mhm.
Then they have a really solid base to move off of. And they did have that 7-year plan. So they have a foundational strategy to draw back on when things get rocky. I think they're executing properly. I think that rough start really punched them in the teeth a little bit too hard. So hopefully they can recover from that. But the rough start was bad. That was really bad. And again, I don't blame them for it. It was just misunderstanding where TCGs had gotten to with all the craziness in the past few years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious if that old Star Wars game, they're still listed on TCG Player, if it had like a collectible version.
I don't know.
What was it called?
Cypher?
Was that the last one? I know there's two like pre 2020.
There's the dice one.
Destiny.
Destiny.
Let's see. That was the one that I always ran into. They have a collective. I don't think they do. Yeah, it doesn't look like they have any sort of collector versions. Doesn't look like it. Yeah, they don't have the hyperfoils or anything like that. So yeah, so this is a way to do it differently. Again, I don't think they anticipated having that depth of collector interest.
No.
Because the market had changed over 2020.
Yeah.
That whole time frame changed the way people look at card games.
Yeah.
Which is why we have so many starting up and still actually running instead of crashing immediately.
That's a whole nother part. Maybe that's next week.
It
We
is,
take a look at all the upcoming ones.
And what was that weird one that was like partially digital that people got into?
Altered.
Yeah, Altered. Yeah, like we should probably do some research and look at some of the ones that have come out and how many are actually dead, how many are close to dead, how many are still thriving, sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure Lorcana is doing well.
I mean, I think it's not doing great compared to what it was before.
No.
That's normal.
And then
Curse of the 3 years, right?
Altered, yeah, I have heard some rumblings about Altered kind of struggling, trying to do too much and get too much off the ground at the beginning, especially with that print to demand and the
Yeah, I mean, who would
print
have
on
guessed a
demand. Sorry, yeah,
partially digital, crazy, like they
it's
were doing
very
a
complex.
lot
Yeah,
of innovation,
and
and I don't
one of
think they.
one unique cards and with the QR codes. And I got to so I actually got to see them the other weekend. I got to hold and mess around with some Altered cards, and they don't feel great. And that QR, I hate it. I hate looking at that card and seeing the QR code down at the bottom right. It
Yeah,
like playing with it feels wrong. It feels like you're playing with an ad. It feels like
uh,
you're playing with like ad tokens. Like,
I did
yeah,
not like it because of the extensive ad. Like I
yeah,
learned about Alter through like Instagram ads that were
yeah,
just in my face constantly.
yeah,
I'm like, stop! I don't care about this. Like,
yeah, yeah.
and it was aggressive, and I
I've
always
heard the
shy away
game is
from
very
things that
fun,
have
but
aggressive.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think there's room and there's people that play it and enjoy it, but I
yes,
just the aggressiveness of it's like marketing first. It always feels like a car salesman to me.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
And then we have the Gundam game coming out, and then we
oh,
have the League of Legends trading card game coming out.
I don't like any of those. What about what was
The League of Legends card game is gonna do very well.
One Piece? Is that still doing
One
very
Piece
well?
is has bounced back and is doing very well.
Yeah, let's think about this for next week because this is a whole topic.
Yeah,
Let's go through them all and discuss.
yeah. Because
All
there
right.
was, I do wanna touch on the League of Legends one. I'm just trying to find the link real quick. Yeah, so they said something. They're calling it Project K. We'll talk about more of this next week, but it should be released this year at some point.
Mhm.
So it is something to have on your mind. And they think they've created the best social TCG
Okay.
because
Well,
you
that's
can
fun.
play. It's like built in that you can play 2v2. I think.
Yeah. Are they doing it with the anime art that they did with the show?
We have not seen any official like done art.
Because I could get behind that. I did like that art style. It was like gritty but anime, which is that old school anime I used to love style with a more modern cleanliness.
Yeah,
Um, that's weird saying gritty and clean, but it's actually
I get it.
accurate. It is actually accurate.
Yeah. Yeah, so although it supports 1v1 matches, Project K was primarily designed for 2 versus 2 and free for all formats, both of which have the potential to get much more chaotic. We think we've created the best social TCG out there. So that's a claim.
Yeah, I'll listen and see if there's anything to it. I'm not really interested in getting into new card games.
Oh, I'm not interested in getting into it. I'm just interested in what it this is an IP that can carry some weight in our market, I think.
Oh, yeah, they are using the same art style. There's some art in that article.
Yeah. No, but what to be clear, this isn't I guess they were just
Oh,
at there was some card conference and like do not like they've changed it a
don't
lot.
yeah, don't take this as
Yeah.
gospel.
This is
Gotcha.
very much like test cards kind of stuff.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. It's easiest to just grab screen caps from the show and throw them on a card.
Yeah.
Actually, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I really like the social aspect of it and it being flexible. So like if you have 3 friends over playing,
Well,
you're
that's what I
good.
mean. Like, if it's actually worth listening to and is good, I love my social games. Like,
Yeah.
that's where I'm like, maybe I will just get some pre-cons or whatever they have
Like
that would make it a fun
how
social
many
game.
times of it are there 3 of us playing Magic, right?
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And your wife liked
Yeah.
League of Legends, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a total win.
Yes. So I actually now that
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
talked me
Yeah.
into it, John, I'm going to try it out. I'll get the
We'll
starter.
see.
I'll
We'll
get
see.
the starter decks or whatever.
I'll wait. I'll hold back judgment and decision until we see more about the actual
Yeah.
products. Until
Yeah.
then, I'm not really. We'll figure it out
I
then.
wonder if they'll have draft. We'll see. It's
Yeah.
something I want to pay attention to. So
Yep.
we'll take a look and
All right, everyone ready for their doom and gloom?
No,
Here's your
no.
weekly doom and gloom. Nice and easy.
Okay.
Everything that we said last week, pretty much still the same.
Cool.
Car payments have gone up to record levels of missed car payments. So that's one of the same signs as like the pizza and the Pepsi and the whatever, right?
And cars are about to get a lot more expensive.
Exactly. When people can't make their car payment, that's critical in our economy, right? That's a problem.
In America, you need a car.
Again, yeah, bottom up data, economic data that shows they're struggling. And when struggling starts, it ends up leading to other effects you start to see. Employment data came out. Unemployment is at 4.1, which is up, but not by a grandiose amount. It's nothing like too crazy. The other side of it was only 77,000 jobs were added when there was 140 expected for I think it was a month. That is a potential problem, like worth paying attention to there, because what that means is companies. This is like that second tier. First tier is you start seeing Pepsi sales go down, and people that are kind of lower middle class, and that stuff like stop ordering pizza, stop doing the extras,
Yeah.
right? That's
Yeah.
like, okay, people are getting cautious because they're afraid. The second is the companies are afraid, right? That's what this number means. The jobs were only half as many as expected to be added. That
Right.
means companies are saying, let's not hire yet. Let's just hold off. That's that uncertainty of we don't know what's going to happen. Let's not commit to employing someone, because that's a whole thing. You train them, it costs a lot to bring them on board, and then you end up having to fire them. So what you do first is you just don't hire, right? That's the first step before firing people. And then if you look at the stock market as a whole, we've seen it crash back down. So the whole Trump bump thing that people were talking about has come back, and we are basically where we were before Trump. And it seems like there's a fairly heavy downward momentum, mostly based on uncertainty around the tariffs. In the last week, tariffs were both implemented and stopped 4 times, I believe. So yes, tariffs tomorrow. Nope, we're gonna give them some time. Yeah, I'm gonna do it anyways. Nope, we're gonna give them some time. So it's so chaotic that it leads to the big U in the FUD, uncertainty. There's fear in the market in general, but the uncertainty, I think, is the biggest factor here. And that's kind of reflective in the unemployment didn't really go up by a massive amount. No one's firing. No one's like, we've got to get rid of, people. We can't afford this. It's more like, let's not hire anyone new. So that uncertainty factor is increasing really heavily and having an impact on markets. And we will see how that plays out going forward. But I do expect it to impact things like these collector boxes, going forward. When you start looking at the more luxury side goods, when you start looking at things that could potentially be dumped on the market, I don't think set boxes are it, but that's kind of what I was talking about with that. um, is if there's stuff in closets in a time of uncertainty, people will throw them on the market because they want to make sure they have a little extra cash on hand. They want to be ready for the dips in the market to buy. They want to be
Right.
careful because they might be one of the people that might be missing a car payment, right? So those are the things that you start to see market trends change when it comes to what's collected, what's left on shelves, and what hits the market. And if this stuff gets worse, then you do start seeing dumps, which, if you have capital to deploy, which I don't know, Tom and I have been talking about for weeks, maybe even months at this point, 30% cash specifically to take advantage of the dumps when they happen. I don't think we're
Hmm.
there yet, but it's coming. It's definitely coming. I did pick up a little bit of S&P, specifically around the latest drop, because it hit what is called a risk level. It's a way of mathematically break down the movement of the S&P, and when it hits the lower bands, that's basically a goodbye time, generally
Hmm.
speaking, over time. And it hit it, and it never stays there long because S&P is just a rocket forever.
Right.
So whenever it hits it, I buy, and so it did hit it in the last week, so I bought just a little bit, though, not nowhere near that. Like, cash position is still at that 30% mark. It might even be a little bit bigger now because I moved some more stuff to cash because I wanted to have a little extra.
Hmm.
I think we're going to see some really grand opportunities here in the next 6 months, but I've been saying that for a while, so I'm just going to keep saying it until it happens, because it's definitely coming now. All the signs are pointing that way. Before, it was like, it feels like it's going that way, and then it would back off, and now it's like, yeah, no, every week it's another flag pointing in that direction.
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, opportunities. I was overly cautious. I bought new compute, new phone, new car. and my fence. I got my fence redone, which needed to be done anyways, but basically because of the tariffs.
Yeah.
So there was a burst of economic activity in the Janaverse, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and now all that is going to conservation of value, right?
Yeah.
Everything's hold from here. So kind of like the Trump bump, like a bunch of people started making things happen because they were like, well, tariffs are not great and I don't know what's going to happen. So I better get those things taken care of, increase inventory, make sure I have excess, because all that stuff when it hits causes disruption.
Yeah.
And now everyone's kind of pulling back like, okay, now it's time to just sit tight until we know what actually is going to happen. So I have a feeling that my personal economic actions and behaviors are reflective in the broader market in a lot of ways, and that's where we're at. So we'll see what happens. But over the next 6 months, I fully expect some sort of pullback. How big, how long, who knows? No one can answer that for you. But during that period, I do intend to take advantage of it. I'm just not sure what I'm going to target first now. I'm starting to like crypto with the whole like reserve that they're trying to do, national reserve, like strategic reserve. I have been in crypto since the very beginning, always been a solid place to be, but I don't know that I really trust like a strategic reserve in that whole situation. It's good in that it creates a demand situation, maybe, but there's a chance that they just use the seized from Silk Road, in
Right.
which case they're not actually buying any, they're not
It's just
selling any.
moving it. It's just putting a
Yeah,
name. It's putting a
exactly.
label on it.
Yeah, that would have no impact
Yeah.
on the
It doesn't do
market.
anything.
Yeah, but if it's one of those things where they want some percentage of GDP or something like that, where it's like a
And
continual
then they're
buy,
buying. Yeah.
that could be huge. Like, so I honestly have no idea where that's going. I will say I moved a little bit out of crypto for that cash position, over the last quarter or so. But I have a very strong crypto position, so it really is kind of long overdue on rebalancing my assets. So that is one thing. I don't know where that goes. I have plenty to take advantage of an upswing if that does happen. And then also I have cash to take advantage of S&P, cards, whatever else ends up becoming the move over the next few months. But this is that. All right. So for me, this is the exciting time. We're approaching my favorite times. I cut my teeth on economic advantage during the '08 crisis, right? That's when I started my company. That's when I learned a lot about how to invest and move money around to make money. And that's when a lot of this stuff kind of happened for the first time in my experience. And so economic chaos is kind of my comfort zone. So I'm kind of looking forward to the next year. It's going to be painful, and I do not enjoy or relish the pain it will cause to people that are not in position like me, because I know it's going to hurt people and it will lead to bad outcomes for families and that sort of thing, small businesses. I'm hoping that is minimal. But that said, there are a lot of opportunities in these sorts of times. And if you know how to kind of keep an eye on the data and you can keep your emotions out of it, you have a strong opportunity to actually gain a lot. This is when the most money is made, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And so being ready for it is key. And it's a very painful game to get here because it's a lot of patience and a lot of like just wait for the market to do the thing and then work with the market, as opposed to like trying to force it, like let me find something because I have money right now, I have to put it in something, like just patiently building, patiently waiting, and then those opportunities to strike tend to be pretty quick. And during these times when most people are terrified and afraid, when everyone's afraid, I get greedy. And that's basically where we're about to be. We're not quite there yet. The fear part's going to start hitting as some of this unrolls, and I think it's, I don't know. I've said it on and off over the years, so I don't want to act like I'm soothsaying anything, but this definitely feels like it's happening because it's happening across multiple flags, and it's happening week by week. New flags are popping up, so we will see over the next 6 months. Maybe I'll be wrong again. I actually kind of hope I'm wrong again, and the Trump economy goes well for working class people and small businesses and all that. It doesn't look like it's going that route. So we'll see. And I'd rather be prepared for the worst and unexpectedly surprised to see that things are fine. It's better to be ready for the worst and then happily surprised that you were wrong than the other way around.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
I had a thought. Then I lost it.
You're buying cards.
Yes. You mentioned
My
cards in
chickens
there. If you
get
were
eggs.
looking at what what would be your sign? What would get you to then go the cards route? What products are you looking at?
Ooh, that's a good question. So obviously things that I like, it'd probably end up being collector boxes just for the form factor, like size, space,
Yeah.
weight, etc. I have more than enough cards in my world.
Yeah.
Like I look around and I literally have shelves and shelves of cards. So I do not need bulk.
Yes.
So it would probably be a collector box type thing. I'm guessing it would be like current era collector boxes that are crashing, right? So the
Mhm.
ones that have been holding in that
Aether
250 range,
drift. Aether drifts
all
in that spot.
dropping, exactly, all dropping below 200. I'd probably pick up a bunch of them. And then the other side of it would be maybe some of the IP ones. Like I could see if Final Fantasy had a crash, like say economic just doomsday around the time Final Fantasy came out, I'd
Hmm.
probably buy some.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I'd probably go in
Yeah.
pretty deep on that one actually.
Yeah. I
Um,
don't think that's going to
and
happen, even if the economy
I don't.
crashes.
I don't either. Yeah, I really don't. I don't.
The
I don't.
economy could be
That's why I'm like, that
in
would
the
be so
toilet,
good.
and the
Yeah.
Final
Yeah.
Fantasy box will
And
be $800.
yeah, it still will be. It's
Yeah.
true. Maybe 600. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
Like it'll still
Yeah.
be way too much. And then the other side of it, yeah, maybe the old school stuff because that is like my joy, I
Yeah.
still have a bunch of graded like alpha beta time frame stuff and because they're doing so poorly and you add an economic crash to it, there'll be some
Sure.
people putting them on market
Yeah.
for like stupid cheap.
Yeah. That's true.
That's a place I might move. Now, the part that scares me about that, the part that makes me say maybe not, is there a market to sell into?
Yeah.
Who will care about those cards in the future? Because they are not going to be nostalgia for the next generation.
No,
Are
that's
they
good.
powerful commander cards though? Like dual lands, that would be a place that's totally good because that commander, EDH,
Yeah.
CDEH, those sorts of cards will continue to have value regardless of nostalgia. And they also give me nostalgia. So that's like the win zone for
Hmm.
me. Like those tend to drop less when that time happens. So I would be watching carefully to try to get some of that stuff. Because I would love to have like a full set of dual lands graded, right? Something
Sure.
like that.
Yeah.
I would be thrilled to have that. That would be a
Yeah.
nice thing to have regardless.
Yeah.
But I also am not paying tens of thousands of dollars for it.
Right. Sure. Sure.
So that's an answer. And then the other place to invest is chickens because egg prices are up 47%
True.
since Trump took office.
Yeah.
And guess what? The 5 food companies that control all egg production in the United States just posted record profits, and they're about to get billion-dollar tax breaks. Fantastic work.
Imagine.
It makes me
Imagine.
so mad. It makes me so mad. But anyways,
Cool.
I hate abusive capitalism.
Yep. Here we are.
Yeah. Anyways, but that's all I got.
Cool. Well, if the world's still spinning next week, we'll catch you guys later.
Have a good one.